The weight of the throne in the grand city of Zubala, where white stone walls gleamed under the sun, and the air carried the scent of olive groves. Queen Amina sat alone on her throne of polished marble. The great hall, vast and echoing, was bathed in the golden glow of the late afternoon sun as it dipped below the horizon. Light poured through tall, arched windows, casting intricate patterns across the smooth stone floors and stretching shadows from the towering columns that lined the chamber. Beyond the heavy oak doors, the faint sounds of the palace stirred, servants shuttering windows against the evening chill, the crackle of hearth fires being stoked, and the distant murmur of guards changing shifts. Inside, however, the air was thick with tension, heavy with the weight of unspoken fears. For weeks, Amina had been consumed by unease. Once a humble villager, Triorai had risen to prominence by defending his people against ruthless bandits. His deeds were the stuff of legend. He shared his food stores with the starving, built shelters for the homeless, and brokered peace between feuding clans. Songs praised his courage, and emissaries from distant lands arrived, bearing gifts and tales of his benevolence. Every story told of men and women flocking to his banner, hailing him as a hero, a beacon of hope in a world scarred by conflict. Yet to Amina, these tales were not songs of hope, but harbingers of danger. Her advisors, cloaked in their silken robes, whispered in the shadowed corners of the palace. They warned that Triorai's growing influence could unite rival kingdoms against Zubala, threatening her trade routes or even sparking rebellion within her own borders. In her mind's eye, Amina saw armies marching under his flag, cities falling to his cause, and her own people torn between loyalty to her and the allure of this new hero. Fear coiled in her chest, sharp and unyielding. She could not allow such a threat to grow unchecked. Each morning, secret reports arrived, penned in hurried script by spies, hidden in remote villages and bustling marketplaces. Some spoke of Triorai's kindness, how he fed the hungry and sheltered the weary. Others detailed his prowess in battle, recounting how he led a small band against a warlord's fortress, disarming guards without spilling blood and freeing captives. One parchment described a drought-stricken village where Triorai arrived with carts of fresh water, earning tears of gratitude from its people. Amina pored over these reports, her gaze sharp and calculating, searching for any flaw, any vulnerability she could use to her advantage. Her council convened nightly, their debates stretching into the early hours. The vizier, a wiry man with a voice like dry leaves, urged diplomacy, suggesting they send gifts to win Triorai's favor. The general, broad-shouldered and scarred from battles long past, advocated for war, insisting they raise an army to crush him before he grew too powerful. Merchants and scholars, ever cautious, recommended patience, arguing that Triorai's influence might fade on its own. Amina listened, her face a mask of composure. But her thoughts were singular. If Triorai's power continued to grow, Zubala's peace would crumble. When the hall fell silent, Amina rose, her silken robes catching the torchlight. Her voice, clear and resonant, filled the chamber. "We cannot wait," she declared. "His influence spreads like wildfire. He must be stopped before the continent rallies to his cause." The advisors shifted uncomfortably, their eyes darting to one another. No one had dared speak of assassination. It was too bold, too ruthless, too dangerous. Yet Amina's words carried the weight of her resolve, a promise to protect her kingdom at any cost. Her gaze drifted to a portrait of her father, the late king, whose stern eyes seemed to watch her from the canvas. He had taught her that a ruler's first duty was to safeguard her people, no matter the cost. His lessons echoed in her mind, steadying her. She turned to Zara, her captain of the guard, and spoke with quiet authority. "Zara, you have served me faithfully for years. I need your skill now, more than ever." Moments later, Zara entered the hall. She stood tall, her dark leather armor gleaming faintly in the torchlight, her braided hair tucked beneath a simple hood. Her green eyes, sharp and unwavering, met Amina's with a mix of loyalty and curiosity. Kneeling before the throne, she waited in silence. Amina handed her a sealed scroll, its wax stamped with the royal crest. Two lions standing back to back, their tails entwined. "Read this," the queen commanded. Zara broke the seal and unfolded the parchment, her eyes scanning the words. As she read, her brow furrowed and her lips pressed into a thin line. Amina watched her closely, searching for any sign of hesitation. When Zara finished, she looked up, her expression carefully guarded. "My queen," she said softly, "you ask me to cross into enemy lands and betray a man who has done much good. What are your wishes?" Amina stepped forward, her robes whispering against the stone floor. She placed a hand on Zara's shoulder, her touch firm yet gentle. "What he is now will not matter if his power grows unchecked," she said, her voice steady but laced with urgency. "His kindness makes him beloved, but that love could unite kingdoms against us. If he marches on Zubala, I cannot protect." Zara bowed her head, her voice barely above a whisper. "I understand my duty. I will go. I will find him and end his life before his influence spreads further." Amina's heart twisted, but she nodded. "Go at once, and keep this mission secret. No one in the palace or court must know. If you fail, all may be lost." Zara stood, tucking the scroll into her tunic. Amina reached into her sleeve and produced a small gold ring engraved with the royal crest. She pressed it into Zara's hand. Take this. It will open doors and command respect in my name. But guard it well. It must not fall into the wrong hands." Zara closed her fingers around the ring, its weight heavy in her palm. She bowed deeply. The silent departure. That night, Zara prepared to leave the palace under the cover of darkness. She moved through hidden corridors beneath the throne room, their stone walls cool and damp under her touch. Iron lanterns swayed faintly, casting flickering shadows as she navigated the ancient passages carved by Amina's ancestors. At a heavy wooden door, she paused, tracing the royal seal stamped in wax upon the key. With a soft click, the door swung open, revealing a small stable where a single horse waited, its dark coat gleaming in the dim light. The animal flicked its ears as Zara approached, patting its neck with a gentle hand. She checked her supplies. A water skin filled from the palace spring, dried bread wrapped in cloth, a small pouch of coins for emergencies, and a slender dagger coated with poison, concealed in her boot. Over her armor, she draped a rough burlap cloak, pulling the hood low. Beyond lay the city walls, their jagged crenellations looming against the moonlit sky. No guards patrolled this hidden gate tonight. The palace believed her safe within its walls. Zara urged her horse forward, slipping through the gates with a soft thud as they closed behind her. The streets of Zubala were quiet, winding along the shadowed walls. Only the distant calls of night birds and the occasional bark of a guard dog broke the silence. She guided her mount along a lesser-known path, a hidden road that wound through olive groves and low hills. In the distance, torches flickered along the northern road, marking the way to Triorai's lands. As her horse picked up speed, Zara's mind churned. She recalled the tales she had heard, Triorai lifting a siege through words alone, freeing slaves, healing the sick. A flicker of doubt stirred within her. Could she truly kill a man so beloved? But duty anchored her resolve. She thought of her family in Zubala, the people who depended on Amina's protection. Her loyalty to the queen was unbreakable. Hours passed as the moon rose and fell. Zara guided her horse into rugged hills where wild goats scampered and foxes darted through the underbrush. The air carried the scent of pine and wild thyme. By a clear stream, she dismounted to let her horse drink, its hooves sinking into the soft earth. Sitting on a smooth stone, she unfolded the queen's scroll by the faint glow of a lantern. The words seemed to shimmer in the light. The caravan's cover. Zara rode through the early morning, the mist curling around her horse's hooves like a living thing. The hills rose and fell, their slopes dotted with wild flowers and gnarled trees. The air was fresh, tinged with the scent of damp earth and blooming jasmine. For a fleeting moment, Zara felt a sense of peace, the world quiet, save for the soft calls of birds. Then the weight of her task returned, and her hand brushed the dagger hidden in her cloak. She knew she could not travel openly to Triorai's stronghold. A stranger bearing royal markings would draw suspicion, perhaps even capture. She needed a disguise, a way to blend among ordinary travelers. As she crested a hill, she spotted a small caravan below. Ragged traders leading mules laden with bolts of cloth, sacks of spices, and clay pots. Their wagons were simple, their wheels patched. Zara saw her opportunity. Dismounting in the foothills, she gathered wild grasses into a bundle, tying it with a strip of cloth. She tucked her ornate dagger and the queen's ring deep within her cloak, replacing her fine cape with a tattered one she had brought for disguise. Approaching the caravan, she carried the grass in one hand and a small knife in the other, her posture humble but confident. The traders paused, their eyes narrowing with suspicion. Zara smiled warmly and held out the grass. "Good day," she said in the common tongue. "Your mules look weary. This fodder might help." The old trader's expression softened. "You're kind, stranger. We've traveled far, and feed is scarce." He accepted the grass, his hands rough from years of labor. Zara knelt, spreading the grass before a tired mule. "May I join you to the next town?" she asked. "I seek a map seller east of here." The trader glanced at his companions, then nodded. "You go our way, though we move slowly. You're welcome." Relief eased Zara's tension. She lifted her bundle and walked beside the lead wagon. The baby's mother offered her dried figs, and Zara accepted them with a nod of thanks. "I'm Marin," she said, choosing a simple name. "A traveler seeking work." The traders introduced themselves. Hossein, the old man with trembling legs. His wife, Amina, soft-spoken but observant. Their son, Karim, who drove the first cart. And Layla, a young potter with clay-stained hands. As the caravan moved eastward, Zara fell into step, listening to their chatter, tales of market prices, fears of bandits, hopes of reaching home by harvest. Every so often, Tririn's name surfaced. At first, the traders spoke cautiously. "They say he brings justice where none exists," Hossein murmured. "Frees prisoners, feeds the poor." Amina nodded. "In my village, his men drove off raiders without drawing a sword." Zara's heart tightened. Each story chipped at her resolve, but she kept her face neutral. These people had known hardship. Triorai's kindness was a beacon to them. She could not fault their admiration. At midday, the caravan stopped by a shallow river. Karim led the mules to drink, while Layla washed clay from her hands. Zara filled her water skin and splashed her face, the cool water grounding her. As they ate dried meat and flatbread, Zara sat apart, sharpening her knife. The blade glinted, a reminder of her purpose. She thought of Amina's orders, the queen's belief that Triorai's rise threatened Zubala. Yet the traitor's stories painted him as a savior, not a conqueror. Doubt crept into her mind, but she pushed it aside. Duty came first. That evening, camped by the river, the traders lit a small fire. Sparks rose into the night as Kareem stirred a pot of stew. Layla hummed a tune, and Hossein told a story of a child saved by Triori's healers. He listens to every plea, Amina said. A true leader. Zara's resolve wavered again. She sat by the fire, staring into the embers, the dagger heavy beside her. Could she kill a man who brought such hope? The queen's ring felt like a stone in her pocket. Did power always demand fear? She shook her head, silencing her doubts. She had her orders.